Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Fellow Show. I am your host, the Fellow KGB. You can follow me on Twitter at the Fellow KGB. And Tuesday night, it's a little after 6:30 p.m. Central Time. We're joined by John Heffernon and Drake Sanford. In tonight's show, we are doing a live mock draft. And why a mock draft? It's just so we can kind of reframe the season that's already happening right now. We're going to probably see guys that have more value, less value. It's just a kind of a cool way to just look at the values of players and see who's maybe trade candidates or just things like that. So certain guys are going to rise up above our boards that were 2 months ago. We were looking at this. So there's going to be quite a bit of movement. But with that, what's going on, John? How are you doing, man?
Doing good. Really enjoying this. You're a cousin from Boston. ESPN pre-draft ad, excuse me.
And Drake, man, how are you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
And it looks like John's going to be pick 3. Drake is going to be pick 6. I'm in pick 12. And we also got Aiden Tobin's in the lobby here at pick 10. So we'll see what he does. What's going on in the chat, everybody? We got Aiden. We got Sam hanging out with us tonight. You guys can fire up questions and stuff as we go. But I think the idea is just for us to, I don't know, just give little blurbs and shout outs to basically how people are doing at the beginning of the year. Of course, there's going to be certain guys that rise to the top here as John picks at number 3. Like, what's going through your mind at 3? Not much really has changed within the top 3 picks, I believe, but who are you hoping that falls to you at 3?
I don't know, but I'm just thinking this is a fun time to do an NBA, like a fantasy draft. Like, we just know we're about a third, a fourth into the season for a lot of teams. This is fun. We should do another league, Kyle. But Jokic, Giannis, even LeBron at this point. I think we were talking maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. I'm on a really big LeBron for MVP kick right now. At 3, if Giannis and Jokic go, maybe I take LeBron. I don't know.
And it doesn't look like like we're still looking at 2021 projections. So I was kind of hoping that they would actually update some of the to-date stats. So that's a little bit of a disappointment. We're going to have to kind of go more off of our memory and how things are going. Drake, did you have a thought?
Yeah, that is awfully disappointing that they don't have. Can we go to averages? No, that doesn't change anything.
Yeah,
I was hoping that would all be updated.
There should be a filter here in this tab. Like, we can filter by 2020. That's great. That's not going to help us for this year.
Yeah.
A little bit of a disappointment, but guys are going to fall. Some guys are going to probably rise up the boards. We're probably going to call out a lot of the guys that we liked back in our mock draft videos. But anyways, we're going on here in about 30 seconds. Looks like we got a lot of auto drafters, so this should be pretty quick. We'll probably open it up for questions and just kind of look at things at the end, and we'll kind of just do back to our normal programming. But Drake's picking at 6. That's typically like where you were just pounding Karl Anthony Towns. So like if you're sitting there at 6, you're probably looking at a guy like Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard at that point.
Yeah, or hoping LeBron falls, really.
LeBron, yeah. And it sounds like John, just because he's the MVP holder of LeBron James here, it sounds like he might do the number 3. But it looks like we have started, and we got Nikola Jokic here, number 1. I think, is there any hesitation with Jokic being probably the best basketball fantasy pick right now?
Pull the trigger anytime you can get him. He's amazing.
And we have a question from this chat room real quick. We got Sam asking, what do you think about this trade? We traded Kawhi for Dame Lillard in points. So he's getting Dame Lillard, and he sent away Kawhi. I kind of like it. I mean, just looking at the value here in this draft board, they got Dame Lillard as the 5th best player. You're going to have to scroll down a little bit to find Kawhi. He's all the way down here at 29, but looks like John's got his thumbs up in the air. Drake, any thoughts on Kawhi versus Dame Lillard? Is it obvious you want Dame?
Yes.
And especially now that we know, like earlier in the year, you could have probably haggled a little bit, but with no CJ McCollum, like it's Lillard's show over there in Portland. So he's got no one to really help score the points. But John, did you want to narrate here and give us what you got going on? This seems like an easy pick to be made.
Yeah, I mean, well, you just said all those nice things about Dame, so I almost took him. But I decided to go with Luka. Luka's pretty much the safest player on the board at 3. Maybe I was kind of hoping for a really fun scenario where Giannis or where Jokic would fall, but man, Doncic at 3, the team doesn't look good. Things don't look smooth. Kristaps looks like a shell of himself. Like everything's going bad for Dallas, and Doncic is still scoring over 50-plus fantasy points a game in the league, in the format that we play in our points league, Kyle. Big fan of Doncic, and I think he has room to improve this year.
Yeah, I mean, I got Luka in our big league, and it's been nothing but fun so far. His ceiling is also massive. He's seen some of the highest ceiling games so far. I think he's had maybe 2 games over 70. Maybe hit 80 once. I can't remember. But Drake pulls up and hits Joel Embiid. This is a guy Drake was drafting like 12th and 13th. So now he's even still willing to pay up for Embiid. So do you want to talk about Joel Embiid in that pick for a little bit?
I'm not paying up at all, Kyle. Joel Embiid is potentially the best big man in the game. And this guy is just on a tear this year. He's the number 4 fantasy scorer right now. So, to me, it's a pretty easy pick.
You have to say something nice about Jokic.
I'm just that high on Embiid right now. The guy is just playing lights out. He's had some of these little minor injuries, but he's playing through them this year. More than we've seen in the past. So I'm pretty excited to be able to get Embiid even at 6.
Sure.
And my page is just refreshing. I took Kevin Durant with my first pick here, and for some reason it auto picked me. It moved me.
Can you guys see?
Obviously
Jokic is the number 1 center right now, but potential's there, guys.
No,
so it auto picked Jason.
He's the unquestioned number 2.
So who'd you get? You got Tatum?
I gave Tatum and Durant, which I'm totally fine with. Those are probably the 2 names that I was looking for. It's nice to see, like, Aiden just took Julius Randle here, round 2, pick 3. I know that was one of Drake's dudes, and he was swiping him up in, like, the 5th round, and I think his value before the season started was, like, round 6 or round 7. So Julius Randle, it's really good to see him up there as a top 20 player all of a sudden now? And Drake's up again now real quick, too. So do you want to just kind of tell us who you're looking at?
I think it's easy here to take Shea. SGA he's just gonna continue to improve as the season goes on. Kyle's an owner of him, and he's putting up pretty consistent numbers right now, and I don't see that going away. So that's a pretty safe second pick for me.
Did you think about Sabonis at all over SGA, or was it close?
Yeah, I definitely thought about Sabonis. Obviously, maybe Zion even in there, but I'll take the combo guard, and I just think his ceiling is going to continue to rise as the season goes on.
And I would agree with that. That's one of those teams we've kind of talked a lot about these on our shows. Those teams that don't really have a lot to play for this year, they're just going to continue giving the young players the run. And SGA is one of those guys. And John goes up and takes Chris Middleton, round 2, pick 10.
Oh, baby.
And he's up to pick again right here. So maybe we'll let John explain his Middleton pick, and then he looks like
so I reached a little bit on Middleton, but I just had to have him. I think he's on a hot streak right now, and who knows how long it will go for, but I think his assists are going to stay high. I think his rebounds are going to stay high, and I think he's just going to keep scoring 20 plus a night. So I like his consistency. And pairing the consistency of Middleton with the consistency of Doncic, and then adding consistency with a little boom potential with Booker, I really like where my team is going right now. And I'm kind of avoiding big guys for no good reason. So,
so I'm up to pick here with back-to-back picks. I don't care about having 2 Celtics. I already got Jason Tatum, but I'm just going to fall into Jaylen Brown. This seems to be pretty fair value for what we've been talking about him this season. And now it's like, do I want Rudy Gobert, one of the better centers in the league? I could kind of pivot from that position. Looking even further down the list, like I still like Jeremy Grant quite a bit, but he seems to have slowed down. I need a point guard. I'm just going to fall into De'Aaron Fox. Or actually, I should probably just take Kyrie. That seems to be a little bit more fun of a pick there. So I got 2 Brooklyn Nets and I got 2 Boston Celtics. That's kind of fun. But it looks like we're going to be throwing it back to Drake. So who's catching Drake's eye here in the 4th round?
So my last pick, I took Kawhi. I don't think I really need to explain that too much. He's consistently going to be in the top 15 for scorers. So again, just adding a consistent piece to this team. I'm just kind of waiting to see what falls to me. It's kind of crazy looking at this fourth round. We see guys like Jamal Murray and Michael Porter there together.
Mitchell?
Murray was, a second-round pick for me?
Maybe third.
Third? Yeah, third. That's right, third. So he's fallen a little, if you're just looking at some rankings too. So right now I got the actual ESPN, scoring up to date on my other tab, and I'm just kind of looking through that to see if any guys catch my eye to draft. I think I'm going to have some fun with this pick and just take Fred VanVleet, the elite Fred VanVleet, who, he put up just a crazy night the other week and stacked him with my guards.
I was actually going to take VanVleet, honestly.
So now who's catching John's eye?
Probably going to go with a big guy at this point.
John Collins seems like fair value kind of here. I like Miles Turner a lot. We've talked about his blocks a lot on the show. And then, Clint Capella, DeAndre Ayton, those guys all just went right after you took them. So you're going to come down here and take another big guy? Potentially Collins, potentially Turner.
Jeremy Grant is the guy I like there. And Capella, I don't even know how Capella's been doing really recently, but he's been having a lot of big games this year, so I'm just excited to have him.
I'm wondering, is Capella still on that double-double streak? The man's just had massive double-double streaks lately. Yeah, he's been 1, 2, 3. He missed one here, but majority of his games are double-doubles, so he's really good for 2 categories.
Did I see a 70 there, too, like in the middle?
Yeah, that was the 71 and the 83-point fantasy games here, the massive games. But Drake goes and takes Miles Turner. That's one of my favorite players. I don't think he gets enough attention for how good he is on the defensive side of the ball. But I'm up to pick here with back-to-back picks. I still don't have a starting center. It's nice to see Valanciunas back in the lineup here, but I might pivot and just kind of throw it down a little bit even farther here. Let me
LaMelo.
See. You like LaMelo?
I'm hoping he falls to me, man.
I'm looking at Dejounte Murray. He's been so good for me. He just put up a 60-point game last night. So, I'm going to take one of these picks. I can pull up those numbers in a little bit. I mean, Colin Sexton sticks out. LaMelo sticks out. Oubre has had some bright moments as well. I think he's starting to pick up his game. But I kind of need a starting center, but I'm just going to kind of keep kicking it down the road. So I'll fall on the LaMelo ball. But I just want to pull up Dejounte Murray's numbers real quick. He is a fun player in San Antonio. San Antonio just has a lot of 1s and 2 guards. But last night, 27 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, 8 steals, 63.5 fantasy points. So he's been playing some pretty good ball lately.
So looking at the point guards left, Colin Sexton is just criminally underrated. Holy crap.
It's pretty stupid.
Yeah, I'm hoping he falls to me.
He's scoring, up there with Lowry, Ball, Murray, Paul, Morant. He's kind of in that range with he's pretty close to Fox too. He's 20 points away from Fox, or 30 points away from Fox. So that's pretty crazy. That's one game. He's getting criminally underrated. This is a guy that Kyle and I talked about here, and I was wrong about him coming in. But Halliburton is he's playing good ball, and he's doing all the things right as a rookie. I think they have I watched a video today on Reddit about him out hustling people for loose balls. It was a 2-minute video just so far this season. He's just meant to play basketball, I guess.
He's very active on the defensive side of the ball. I like the steals and the blocks columns, and he's starting to figure it out just with points, and not only points, but I mean, he's had a couple games where over 10 rebounds, over 11 assists. He's just filling it out. And then I guess this kind of brought up perfectly my next thought was not because I was really shy to draft rookies 2 months ago, but we got information now. I was kind of hoping we could talk about some of the rookies. I snagged LaMelo Ball. Drake snagged Tyrese. Was there a rookie that John was watching, or who did John just take here? Steven Adams. Of course, John took Steve Adams. Next pick
we're moving way too fast. I'm having a hard time thinking it through. I gotta get my dude though. one of my favorite NBA Top Shot moments is this cheapo Keldon Johnson dunk I bought, and got to grab my dude in fantasy.
$7.
And now, who's Drake looking at here? What do the numbers tell you to do?
I got to do a little digging here. I probably need to start looking at getting some forwards on this team, right? But as a fantasy owner, I just never draft for need, and I just kind of spend it. I like to take the most talented players and kind of work it out.
And this is just a part of the draft where nothing kind of makes sense as far as this projected rankings that we're looking at here.
I'm struggling with that. I'm just going to take Harrell here. He's a little safe. I was looking at Wiggins down there. That's probably a better pick, to be honest.
Do I really want to take Plumlee right now? Is he worth it?
I wish they updated this.
He's averaging 26.5 on the season, so I don't mind Plumlee here. He's
playing a lot too. Detroit will play Plumlee.
Why take Plumlee now when I can get Cody Zeller 2 rounds in front of John in a little bit?
Boy.
We'll get to that when we get to that. Chris Boucher's been playing some really good ball lately. Brandon Clark has been having a good season, but he's out right now. I'm just gonna take Kemba Walker. I don't know why he seems like a guy that should be gone by now. Jarrett Allen's a fun pick at center.
What's the news with R.J. Barrett? Is he on the naughty list?
That 7-point game. What happened? Did we get to the bottom?
He only played 15 minutes the other night too.
I think he's fine.
He's good going forward.
He's been balling out this year. I don't see why not.
I don't know. It's Thibodeau, man.
Thibodeau, but Thibodeau's been running him, man. I mean, unless he's talking back to Tibbs, which why would he? I don't know.
I think it was just a weird one game thing. I don't know.
It was a blip. It's a blip. I'm calling it a blip. Yeah, I'm putting it on record on the show. It was a blip.
So I snagged Buddy Hield just before. He's averaging almost 28 points per game on the year, and dude plays minutes. He's averaging 35 minutes per game on the season. He's just going to kind of fill everything out. He seems like a safe pick at this point of the draft. I'm very guard heavy, and I need to start hitting some big guys up here. But Drake's on the board here. What are you looking at?
I think I'm taking Wiggins here. He's just getting so much playing time on a good team, and he's actually filling out, kind of in the area around Grant, and he's outperforming Porter Jr., Barnes, and Barrett right now. So it's a pretty good value pick right there.
And I can't remember where Wiggins was going pre-draft or pre-season, but I think I got him somewhere in that 7th, 8th round. So he's a player that's exceeded expectations for me, and his value is still not as great as it can be. But what's John looking at here?
You know what? I'll put my money where my mouth is. I'm grabbing R.J. Barrett. And before R.J., I took I don't even remember who I took. Just let me find him. Mikal Bridges. I grabbed Mikal Bridges, who has really been balling out. So if RJ does, for whatever reason, fall apart, I'll just throw him on the bench behind Mikal and be okay.
Here's another easy pick for me, and that's Jarrett Allen. He started last night with Drummond, so I think we're going to start seeing some more of that. I think going forward, though, like I've said in the past, Allen's going to be starting more often than not. That's what this Cavs team's all about. They're going to be getting these younger guys in. And I wouldn't be surprised if they trade a few more players, because I think we're kind of seeing a little downfall in what the Cavs are, but that's what I expected them to be, even though I pump them up every week on this show.
So I'm in desperate need of a center. I'm just going to fall on Enes Kanter. That one locks it in for me. And then I kind of I was looking around. I like Kobe White a lot. I don't know if Drake has the numbers up. How many, is Kobe White a value on your list? I should consider taking him here, I think.
Let me bring it up for you.
Otherwise, Jeremy Lamb's one of my favorite players that you could have snagged on the waiver wire a couple weeks ago. But the one guy that I think I need to just
Kobe White's around the Eric Bledsoe, Darius Garland conversation right now.
That would have been 2 or 3 rounds ago, right?
Yeah.
So, at that point, Kobe White's a really good value. So I'm just going to fall into Kobe White. I did want to take another Chicago Bull there. I'll see if you guys can figure it out who it is, but he's a guy that's been playing some really good ball lately. So I don't know. We'll see what Drake does with his picks here. He's up. These auto picks, man. This thing's moving.
It's moving fast. We could maybe do another one. Or maybe that's just way too frisky. I don't know. Maybe I'm just having too much fun.
Yeah, we'll probably break some of these down and just talk about some of the names that we're looking at and maybe get to some questions. But
late round here, I like a guy like Dylan Brooks.
Yep.
I like the potential there. Fills out 2 positions.
So now it kind of feels like we're playing the waiver wire, right? Like these are the kind of guys that you potentially see available for you. So
well, I'm seeing Gallinari pop up, and it's just disgusting.
Don't get us started on the Gallinari. We've Danilo's a sore spot. He was good last year, but it's just it's weighing on him this year. It's a little too much. But Jeremy Lamb sticks out for me. I know John was able to snag Jeremy Lamb earlier a couple of weeks ago. We're completely off the Davis.
Think of Miles Bridges. I like when he gets minutes, to be honest. For fantasy.
You got my Zeller. God damn it. My team.
You called him out too early.
You didn't even need him, John. All right. But Cody Zeller is one of my favorite waiver wire pickups. I think he's surpassed 50% ownership, but it looks like John also takes Bobby Portis, who I was eyeing up. Bobby Portis is playing fantastic. I'll pull up his numbers on the side. But John, did you want to talk a little bit about your 2 centers?
They're the best value picks of this draft. Maybe the best value picks of any draft anyone's done in 2021.
Bobby's averaging 25 points per game on the season. He kind of goes with the flow of Milwaukee's game script. If it's a blowout game, he'll get some run. If it's a bad game, he's going to get some run in the fourth quarter. If it's a more competitive game, that's where you're going to see his numbers dip a little bit. But Portis, he's kind of matchup proof. You're just going to want to leave him in your lineup at all times. He's been really scrappy. The Bucks are a pretty good team when he's on the floor as well. So I like him quite a bit.
And he's just starting to figure out how to play with the offense.
But here, okay, so I'm gonna pull up you said you had the best pick. I think I just had the best pick with Thaddeus Young. He is power forward, small forward, and center eligible. He is the triple threat trio. So I just plugged one of my center spots with a 3-way player. So that's really fun. And then now I'm looking to see if anyone else sticks out. Jeremy Lamb.
Take Jeremy Lamb.
It's probably that time. DeAndre Hunter, we'll talk about that later.
Take your Bertans.
Me and Bertans, I have to call him up and have a talk with him about what's going on this year. It's very disappointing. The man just can't play defense and he's not hitting threes. But Thaddeus Young, have you guys seen the numbers on Thaddeus lately?
I've seen him.
I wish I didn't see him, but I've seen him.
Oh, Drake got introduced to Thaddeus last week, and he's averaging almost 28 fantasy points per game. I highlighted him on my waiver wire show maybe 2 shows ago when he was below 50%, and now he's just kind of blown up. But the last 2-3 weeks, he's been one of the top players in fantasy.
Picked him up last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago we did that.
So yeah, Drake had him right before February, January 31st. You had him, and then I was able to snag him right away. But he's been kind of on and off a handful of teams, and now he's starting to finally hit his stride. So I love Thaddeus Young. And 3-way eligibility. I don't think there's another player that's three positions. Let me see what else we got going on here. So Hef takes Cole Anthony, another rookie that we like quite a bit. And Patrick Williams.
Guys.
You got another one? You got another one besides Cole Anthony here?
No, Cole is my rookie. Didn't you say earlier we were all grabbing a rookie, our main rookie? I feel like Cole's kind of my guy because I was all in on Fultz this year, and now I'm all in on Cole, and I'm losing lots of games.
And there's one more rookie that I would take if Drake doesn't take him here. But the rookies are heating up, guys. The rookies, yeah, there it is. That's the one. So I talked about him last night on my waiver wire show, and the rookies are starting to look pretty.
They're playing good ball. They're playing good ball. They're getting comfortable now.
It's a good class.
Yes, it is. It's a
great class.
I really liked that those guys, 4 through 20 right now, and before the draft. So now some of those guys are showing up. So that's exciting. the top three, we knew what we had there. Those are good players.
So I just ended this stupid draft with Brook Lopez from the Milwaukee Bucks. This is a sore spot for me. But we got him. So we basically just drafted the guys that we like that are good on our teams already, but we snagged a few guys that we weren't able to own. So you guys are both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown owners, I believe, in our fellowship league. So I love getting both of those guys. I got 2 Brooklyn Nets here. The LaMelo Ball, man. I don't know if John has watched enough LaMelo. I don't know that much. I've just seen the numbers. I haven't seen him actually play. But as far as the Chicago Bulls, Kobe White and Thaddeus Young excite me, and then just some low-end bench here, Jeremy Lamb and Brook Lopez are kind of fun. But John, did you have any thoughts on the team that you were able to snag? I'm going to pull it up here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I really like my top 5, my starting 5 essentially, which I like for fantasy or for real life. Luka, Booker, Middleton, Jeremy Grant, and Clint Capella. I think I'm winning a lot of games with that team in any kind of basketball environment, in any basketball era. My bench is a lot of dudes that, like to your point, Kyle, my bench is a lot of guys I own on my actual fantasy team. I think when push came to shove, and I only had the 2021 projections in front of me, I just picked guys that I, was comfortable with.
Yep.
But some of the dudes that I don't own that I really like are Mikal Bridges, who I think I got in a pretty good round. He was one of my last starters. Bobby Portis, who I like a lot, who I think is I love those guys who are forward and center eligible. And they just give you a lot of flexibility on your roster. And he's doing 25 fantasy points a game. So I like some of my later round guys a lot.
I was going to say, I think you were rewarded for waiting on center. I mean, you got Steven Adams, Zeller, and Bobby Portis to flip-flop as your 3 worst centers. So that seems pretty fun. And then, Doncic, Booker, Middleton, Grant, and throwing Capella into that top 5. That's a pretty fun top 5. But let's look at Drake's team real quick. Drake, you want to talk about what you were able to acquire?
Yeah. I actually really like this team.
The flexibility, holy crap. The double eligibles, I love it.
Do you want to pull it up on this screen?
Yeah, I have it up.
I don't see it. I can pull it up on there it is. Okay.
In the corner, the left.
All right. So, yeah, just like Kyle was saying, a lot of flexibility. That's something I always preach. Sometimes it doesn't happen on draft day. Like I said, I always just take the most talented player, in my opinion, which isn't always correct. So, some of the guys I got late, I really like Allen. Like I said, starter. Wiggins, starter on a good team, plays a lot of minutes, fills out position. Embiid, getting him where I got him still feels like a steal. Kawhi Leonard, he's a top. I think I just saw he was in the top 11 for scoring in our league right now. And I got him in the 3rd round. So this is just a very well drawn out team. This would be fun to play with in 2K. And that starting 5 is just beautiful.
I was going to say your last 2 picks of Patrick Williams and Anthony Edwards those are 2 of the rookies that have caught my eye. And with the Lauri Markkanen injury, Patrick Williams is going to be on the floor a ton.
And Williams was starting beforehand too, and it's almost like Billy Donovan wants to commit to Williams being that starter. He just gotta show it. Yeah. Yep. I really like Miles Bridges as just a fringe player. He's getting 22 points, so he kind of hits our fringe average. But I think as the Hornets season goes on, these younger talented players are going to be getting more and more minutes, and he can fill it out in assists. I think he's averaging over 5 assists or something like that. He's close to getting to that 10 points, so it's another guy that I think could easily start slipping into that double-double range with rebounds and points or assists. So just a fringe player that most people could probably find. I think he's only like 50% owned, so you could probably find him on your waiver wire.
Interesting. John, did you have a thought that we cut off?
No, the 2K got my wheels spinning. Before this draft gets deleted forever, we should take screenshots of our teams and acquire them in 2K, and then, of course, battle each other.
That'd be great.
It sounds very fun. But I love Drake's team. It's scary good. I mean, Embiid. Kyle, we talk all the time about Miles Turner's blocks, and he's like the worst player in his starting five. So it's a scary fantasy team. It's a scary real life team.
And I'm just jealous of all of the dual eligibilities. This guy's going to have lineup flexibility for days. Very well.
Van Vliet, I think Kawhi and Van Vliet could easily have been the best picks in the draft. Both of them.
Yeah, the Kawhi third round seems kind of stupid.
Where was he going in our draft? It was pretty like mid-second round, right?
Kawhi was right at the turn, I believe.
Yeah.
He was right at the beginning of round 3.
Oh, he's 3.
The third round again. I don't remember who has him, but he fell into round 3.
I think Dave has him.
I think so too. Let's look at Aiden's team real quick. He's asking us in the chat room. So what do we got for Aiden's team? He's got Colin Sexton, James Harden. He's got Malik Beasley, who we talked a little bit off the air real quick. His nice little work Huber thing he's got going on. You got Julius Randle, one of our fit. I can't believe Julius Randle, the value that he has created for himself. He was a 5th or 6th round pick before the season started, and we got Aiden taking him in the 2nd round. That speaks volumes to how he's playing this year. Andre Drummond was a value in this draft. I think Drummond fell to the 4th round. So he was a perennial 2nd round pick, I think, before the season started. McCollum's a good guy that you can snag right to the IR and hopefully get him back in a couple of weeks. Adebayo, Porzingis, nice center, power forward depth. Harrison Barnes, one of those guys that as much as we don't like Harrison Barnes, he's still a pretty good fantasy player. OG Anunoby, I think he's coming back. Kyle Anderson. Have you guys seen Darius Basley's numbers?
Yes.
Oklahoma City.
Solid. Very solid.
And Basley was one of those guys that I talked about last night on my waiver wire video, but he's under 27% owned. And the numbers that he's been putting up lately, 42 minutes last night against the Lakers.
Him and Roby seem to kind of go on and off.
But the opportunity is there for this young Thunders team. They're just giving these young guys minutes, and Basley is starting to hit his stride with consistency and scoring. And I just like seeing like 16 rebounds last night. Like, holy crap.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a stat line.
So Basley is having him under 27% owned. This is the guy that needs to be owned in a lot of leagues. I think Aiden actually did a pretty nice job.
It's a good squad.
He's just solid all throughout. This is a team that's just going to be competing all year. I don't see any holes here.
Guys like
got some trade power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're looking to move Porzingis, you don't even need Porzingis. If he gets hot for a little, you could move him.
This looks like a team too, like Drummond, Adebayo. Those guys were both well below where we were drafting them 2 months ago. So he got some really good values there. And the thing too is Porzingis, like he was a 5th round pick in our draft. And his Porzingis wasn't a 5th round pick in this league. Like his value actually went down somehow.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a lot of good values on Aiden's team. So Aiden looks to do a pretty good job of finding the values there.
Porzingis is more valuable when he's injured because it's like the what if. He's the unicorn. He's the unicorn, man. I wonder what he'll look like on that basketball court.
Just imagine.
It's more interesting than what he actually looks like out there.
John's out there.
You got to move him when he's out. But I don't know. That was fun. That was a lot of good things. I don't know if you guys want me to kind of open it up and review just the picks by picks, or do you guys want to kind of move around and talk about some topics? Have you guys watched a lot of basketball over the weekend, or was there anything important that you guys wanted to get out of your minds right away? I'll throw it to John.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Bucks lately, and that's been really fun. I'm finally watching them win games, which is great. I got to see the Suns play a couple different times this weekend, which was fun. I love those Valley jerseys. Those are some very, very beautiful. That's my number one Suns take, by the way, that their jerseys are really cool. All the basketball thoughts, though, I think they are definitely going to make the playoffs in the West. I think they're probably also definitely going to lose in the first round in the West, but they're good. They're really freaking good. And
you don't see CP3 just willing them into a 2nd round game.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it like he took OKC to Game 7 last year, and I think he could do something similar this year. Like a 6-7 game series.
Maybe a ball bounces one way and they somehow squeak into a 2nd round.
I mean, Suns Clippers round 1 seems pretty reasonable at this point to me, and like what if they take the Clippers 7 games? That's not a bad year for the Suns.
What if the Suns are playing a team like the Spurs?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking
winning. You could see them winning that matchup, right?
I'm going to put the Suns into round 2. If this is if their matchups are the Spurs, Blazers, Kings, or Nuggets, I think the Nuggets can play better. But if they get Spurs, Blazers, Kings, the Suns can move into round 2. Not easily, but I can see it,
It could be, and another really feasible first-round matchup is Suns Nuggets, and that's a matchup where the Suns get smoked
at home too. At this point,
why are the Nuggets 12-11? That's surprising to me. I haven't checked the standings out since the last time we looked at it, but
Jokic is the only piece on that team that's doing well. They have the exact same story as the Mavericks. They just obviously have a much more comfortable floor.
Yeah, I mean, that's a spot on. Joker is the only one playing well for them right now,
and he's playing really damn well.
Insane well, MVP level, right?
But it's not enough. He needs enough right now. He needs some help.
They played pretty good against the Bucks last night. I'll give them that.
They played great, but it was a really good team game. But
Porter Jr. is gonna have to step up, and Jamal Murray. I mean, Jamal Murray.
Murray was really soft. He came up soft last night for sure. He didn't even shoot the ball much. I didn't see him shoot the ball much.
He's gotta figure it out here.
I think the troubling part, if you're a Nuggets fan, was the Bucks didn't even have Drew Holiday last night, so that it could have been worse. I guess you see Milwaukee starting Bryn Forbes. John, do you have any? What are your thoughts on Bryn Forbes?
Oh boy,
just out of curiosity,
you gotta respect the high volume, high percentage 3-point shooter. It's not easy to do, but at the same time, this is the Budenholzer offense with all the greatest distractions in the world in terms of Giannis and Middleton, and even Drew when he's playing and when he's healthy. Those guys, the defense is just totally focused on those 3. Bryn gets a lot of nice looks, but I'm still impressed. He does. I would venture to say 70 to 80% of his threes are catch and shoot threes, which are always easier to make. So he's not really necessarily creating for himself. So, he's just kind of a piece, but he's a piece that's playing perfectly. So I love it. I appreciate it. I hope he stays hot because it changes the calculus. It improves the spacing at all times when your guys are hot. So
I remember playing Forbes last year, picking him up off the wire and playing him in there. So
where was he last year?
He was with the Spurs last year, wasn't he?
Spurs.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And then just the other name I wanted to call out real quick. I've noticed he's been healthy and getting more minutes, and that's Torrey Craig. You were very excited. I think you even foreshadowed, or you could see in the future that you wanted Torrey Craig on the Bucks. And now he's starting to get up into the 20 minutes per game. He was 3 of 3 from 3-pointers last night, 5 boards, 2 assists, and a steal. That is great minutes. So I just wanted to get your thoughts on Torrey Craig real quick. What are we seeing from him?
I mean, he's getting more minutes because he's healthy and had been able to practice a little bit, which has been great. I think last night was definitely going against your old team for the first time. Wanted to. He's a minimum. He's always on prove-it contracts, very low guarantees and veteran minimums and stuff. So I think he very much wanted to stick it to his old team last night, but I think I don't know if he's fantasy. See, this is a tough thing for me to talk about. I think he's a really useful, valuable NBA player, but he's not really. I don't know if he's fantasy friendly, at least right now. Maybe give him 2 more weeks, but he's a really nice NBA player and very useful, and I appreciate him.
What can you tell us about Dante DiVincenzo? Because this is a guy that I think needs to be owned, and he's about 55% owned in leagues. And last night he had a hell of a game. He just filled out everything: 13 points, 7 boards, 2 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks. And he's been kind of picking things up as of late. I've noticed just a couple 30-point games. But DiVincenzo, he's starting to play some of that really good basketball that we saw before the NBA got shut down last season. So just quick thoughts on Dante DiVincenzo.
The same thing I say about Forbes is the same thing you could say about Portis, DiVincenzo, Craig, for all of their offensive opportunity. They're basically getting lots and lots of minutes, and they're typically surrounded by 3 or 2 of Giannis, Middleton, and Drew Holiday. So life is easy when they're on the floor on offense. It's a lot of catch and shoot threes, and it's a lot of I get the ball, I'm wide open, and I take 2 dribbles into the lane, and the defense freaks out, and I can just throw to a cutting Giannis, or I can shoot a wide open floater. Dante is a product of a very nice system, but even still, he's never not going to get minutes because he's probably the most aggressive defender this team has on a regular basis. I think he plays more aggressive on defense than even Giannis does, and I think Giannis may be coasting a little bit more this regular season than usual, but Dante's awesome. He's going to get a lot of minutes, and he's going to always share the floor with great players to distract the defense from him. So I think, and the defensive stats also are nice. So he's a really good fantasy player right now.
His numbers over the last 7 days, all of his numbers are better than his actual season stats. So he's got more points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Basically, well, the steals are the same, but this is the player who's playing at his best of late. So I think that's enough Bucks talk, though, for the night. We'll spin it towards Drake. And something that Drake said earlier, with the young Cavaliers going to a double center starting lineup, was that just one game, or can you expand more on that for us?
Like I've said in the past, Cavs lineups are just going to fluctuate, and they're just going to be putting out different lineups all the time, especially with Nance Jr. out now. He is out for 4 to 6 weeks, so you are going to see more of that when they can double center it, because they're just getting their most talented players out there. That's kind of the name of the game for a young developing team, is just getting your talent out there. They lost by 6 points on the road to Phoenix. That's a pretty solid effort for them. They're on a 4-game skid, but yeah, I would expect, like I've been preaching, Jarrett Allen to still get 30-plus minutes a night, regardless if he's starting or not. So,
and then do we know? I thought I saw Kevin Love has started basketball activities again. Do you have a date in mind?
They're on a 5-game road trip, I believe, right now, or a 4-game road trip. That's 5 days. So he will not be playing in any of those games, but maybe looking at after that, he might start playing. He's been playing one-on-one and been playing with the guys, I guess, for a couple of weeks. It sounds like he's been practicing normally with the guys. So
yeah, and that's he had an individual workout on Saturday.
Yeah,
so
5-game. Yeah, 5-game road trip.
Back up. So I'm just going to be curious. Like we know Kevin Love, he's not going to get thrown into 30 minutes per game. He's going to be slow rolled into that. But once there's a 3-man rotation of Love, Drummond, and I can't think of it, Jared Allen, I think that's going to be an interesting situation. But here,
Love does a lot for this team too. Just me talking about Cavs, I'm going to take my time here. He just spaces the floor so much better. I was watching the Bucks and Cavs this weekend, unfortunately, and it felt like most of the shots that the Cavs were throwing up in the second half were kind of prayers, like we really hope this is going to go in type deal. And some of them did, but their spacing's a mess right now. They need the veteran presence with Love back. He's a power forward that gets offensive rebounds and shoots threes. So it's a very nice fantasy player when healthy. I just don't. I'm assuming that looking at early next week, I think he could be back playing for your team.
And if you have an IR spot and you can still snag Kevin Love, he's dipped below 44% rostered. This is a guy that you just be patient, maybe wait a week or so, a few more games. He's going to be ready to roll, and then he's just going to slowly ramp back up to a normal workload. So keep an eye on Kevin Love. Aiden left a comment saying, can we just use the center against the Nets? Look what Mason Plumlee is doing. So that I think that the Nets deal to get James Harden, man, they had to give up. They don't really have a starting center, do they? I don't know if John can talk a little bit about
DeAndre Jordan, but he should not be playing that much.
And I'm just looking at this real quick because you got Plumlee, 10.7 rebounds already at halftime, so he's going to get a double here. And the Pistons are taking down the Nets. I know there's no Kevin Durant, but either way, if you're a Nets fan, you should be beating the Pistons, no matter if Kevin Durant's on the floor or not. So
look at Grant's
Pistons Pistons have been a little scrappy lately. They took the Lakers to double OT. They had to take 2 LeBron shots to the dome, lay FU for threes, and that's. So I think the Pistons are.
To speak to Mason's strategy, though, I think you might be onto something. If you can find a power forward or a center that's dominant in the paint, playing against the Nets on that waiver wire,
and they got
go ahead and throw it.
If there's a back-to-back where they play the Nets 2 games in a row,
a little Tuesday Thursday action.
Yeah, I think that's. Since we're looking at the Pistons real quick,
I endorse that strategy. By the way, that's a great idea.
Maybe we'll take a peek at their schedule too to see if anything's coming up in the future. But Josh Jackson, this is the guy who I was high on earlier in the season. He gets hurt, and then he had to kind of work his way back into the starting lineup. But just over the last few games against the Lakers, 37 minutes, 28 points, 8 rebounds, 11 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists against Phoenix, and then a really good game against Utah again.
He is single-handedly the reason they took the Lakers to double overtime.
Yeah. He's getting his scoring kind of figured out now and starting to settle into more consistency. So I love that. And he's being pesky with the steals and the blocks. You don't know what you're going to get every game, but it's going to be something.
What are the Pistons this year? What are the
5-18?
5-20, 5-19.
What's going on with Hayes? Is he done for the year?
Killian Hayes.
Yeah.
He's my rookie of the year pick, so I think he's done for the year. Yeah,
I took him, John. I drafted him.
So on January 20th, he was reevaluated in 8 weeks. So that's 2 months.
So we'll see him in 2022.
So who knows? Maybe
October 2021.
He'll be back. He'll be back
after the All-Star break, I think. We'll see. But then, Drake said the Jeremy Grant line, 17 points at half. And that's probably a guy that Kevin Durant would be guarding if he was on the floor. So that
Kevin Durant can't guard Grant. You know that.
Just the height shooting a little bit there.
I drafted Grant in the 4th round tonight, boys.
Jeremy Grant's a really good player. He's one of those. I would put Jeremy Grant in that Julius Randle bucket of guys that you probably got mid-draft that are probably 2nd, 3rd round picks at this point. So there's a lot of high ups.
Nets are bringing it back here.
They got it under double digits. We got another game going on too. Let me just click it. Oh, we got did Derrick Rose come back to New York tonight? Is he playing?
I think he is back. I don't know if he can play yet because of COVID. Oh, he did.
Minutes, 8 points. He's playing.
What's Quickly doing? This was a guy I wanted to. He only 7 minutes. Damn you, Tibby.
So that rotation is going to be weird at point guard with Peyton, Quickly, and Derrick Rose. I think did we look at Quickly last week?
2 weeks ago when Dalton played him against me.
Yeah, we noticed an uptick there. And then the last few games, Alfred Payton was like balling out. He was getting mad points. And then you send Derrick Rose to the team now, and it looks like Rose was a New York Knick at once before,
Look
right?
Look at their guards. 9-9, 9-7-7.
Heavy
my goodness. That's fantasy suicide. Who do you play? Who do you play on this team?
It's a timeshare.
I don't even know if you can play RJ Barrett at this point.
RJ Barrett is the guy I would play in that mix, but I don't know if he's on the list.
The high potential. Yeah, you gotta go. But
just two rebounds and 1 point for RJ Barrett. Mitchell Robinson's been a frustration of mine. I didn't draft him this year, thankfully, but like he's not playing up to what his potential.
Which is surprising. He was so fun last year.
I mean, Thibodeau, man. I don't know what's going on with the Knicks. They need something different here because this is not. It seems like a good lineup though. If you put Randall, Robinson, RJ Barrett, and then you're gonna mix in Rose and Peyton, like it seems like it should be better than what it is, right?
Even Noel coming off the bench.
The shooting is atrocious for the modern NBA. Like the 3-point shooting is atrocious.
Yeah. And then they added Derrick Rose.
Save the day. And then you got what's interesting though is the Knicks are up 12 on the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, man, are they going to make the playoffs? I think we talked about this last week.
Someone freaked out at me last week on the pod for saying they weren't going to make the playoffs.
They're on a 2-game win streak. That's looking better. They moved up into looks like the.
Oh, look at that! Look at them. They're almost 40% wins. Pretty nice.
Pretty good. Pretty good to be a Heat fan.
I mean, I would assume they make the playoffs, right?
They'll make the playoffs.
They'll make the playoffs. The Hawks aren't making the playoffs. I'll tell you, the Hawks aren't making the playoffs.
The Hawks will dip down.
I'll tell you, the Hornets are not making the playoffs.
It's nice to see the Raptors bounce back. We talked about the Raptors last week. They were down low, and it's nice to see them bounce back.
I bet the Raptors take over the Pacers. I could see the Raptors as a 5 seed.
Fivers, that's probably their ceiling in that 5-6 range. What's up with Charlotte though? Do we want to talk? Did we talk about Charlotte?
We talk a lot about Charlotte. We can still talk about Charlotte.
Charlotte and Memphis, so we're good on those. Any other teams that we need to kind of take a peek at here?
Yeah, we can't talk about Charlotte until April, Kyle.
Okay, we'll wait. We'll give it some time. But as far as the Western Conference, we did kind of touch last week on the Rockets being actually more competitive without Harden. I think that's kind of interesting. But Christian Wood's hurt. I don't know if you guys saw, but he got taken off the floor and he had to take a wheelchair out of the arena. So he's going to be evaluated on a weekly basis after a right ankle sprain. He left Thursday's game in a wheelchair, and it could be an extended time missed here. So Christian Wood, this was another one of those guys that was a 5th or 6th round pick that just exceeded expectations, and all of a sudden it's not good. So
to your point, Kyle, when you're looking at the weeks that a guy's projected out, maybe this is I assume this is something everyone does. When you're looking at a bad developing team, kind of like Houston is, when you see that he's going to be out evaluated week to week, to me, that's an instant trigger that he's probably out a month. Just with, it's kind of what happened with Hunter. They evaluated it. And this is less serious. Hunter needed MCL surgery, but I feel like these younger players, especially guys that they have money invested in for the future, like Wood, it's going to be a slow rush back. So you see that maybe you see 1 to 2 weeks. I would probably lean further than that if that comes out. Just a little point, not necessarily about Wood, but just players in general.
My initial thought after leaving Thursday's game in a wheelchair is we might not see him play till the end of February. With the looming All-Star break in early March, I think you're going to see a lot of team doctors very patient with guys and not really looking to force the issue. And as good as Christian, he's their best player when he's healthy. The team's kind of built around him. They paid, to build around him. So I don't really see any point to try to, push the issue on that. So that the Rockets are kind of one of those teams that I might, they could maybe see them fall. It looks like our Grizzlies fell. They've lost 4 games in a row since we pumped the crap out of them last week.
Classic.
I don't know. We're going on about 53 minutes. Aiden's got a question on Jakob Poeltl. Did I say it correctly? I never know how to pronounce Jakob
Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl, I think.
There's an R in there? There's an R?
He was on my watch.
I think you pronounce it with an R. I don't know why.
Of course, Dalton grabbed him, but
yeah, he was one of the hottest pickups of the week, and it's linked to LaMarcus Aldridge. But John, are you able to tell us a little bit about Jakob? Is it Poeltl?
I thought it was Poeltl. Am I insane, Drake?
I don't. I'm the worst at pronouncing names out of the three of us.
Jakob Poeltl. If I do this for all my favorite NBA players. If I'm getting your name wrong, very sorry. I'm purely an amateur. But Jakob Poeltl.
Watching tonight.
I know he is. He loves the pod. Shout out to Jakob. We love you. He's big. He's athletic. He's a good defender. I think he's a better passer than anyone gives him credit for. He's not like a Bam or a Jokic or anything like that. He's much kind of more Zubac-ish, if anything. Shout out to Zubac, who I also love.
1.8 assists.
Poeltl, he's done well in limited minutes, and I think he, in theory, could do well with more minutes. So it took me a long time to say one sentence about him, but I think he's a useful fantasy asset as long as Aldridge is out.
And Aldridge is going to be out a while. He says if you look at the ESPN thing, it says that he was questionable for today, but if you look into the injury, we're looking at a month, I think.
Ooh. And it did say reevaluated in 4 to 5 days. So typically when I see that a player is going to be reevaluated in a certain amount of time, expecting him to be out until that, and then probably a week or two more before I even see him.
And Aldridge, especially because he's having the same issue he's had before, so he's seen a similar specialist. He's seen the same specialist, and Pop said today that he didn't even have any news yet on Aldridge. So
it's going to be a while, and then Jakob Poeltl is going to be very useful. His last 7 days.
Pick him up, people. 18.5% owned. He's a great pick.
Yeah.
His last 7 days, I think that's maybe 3 or 4 games, he's averaging 34.3 points. That's probably not going to stick there, but I would imagine high 20s, maybe low 30s, somewhere in that
You're
range.
happy with 25. 25 is a good number.
So he's
low end
version of Cody Zeller at this point. I would say I would put him kind of in that category.
Are we now making poor man Cody Zeller references?
Cody Zeller is.
I never
let me put it this way. He is Cody Zeller with hair.
You get Cody Zeller with hair. Oh my god. And I'm just pulling up the
Indiana out of Cody Zeller. He's the same.
If you look at the last 7 days, I have both these guys compared here. Poeltl is actually he's averaging 6 more fantasy points per game. He's actually out
7 more minutes too.
He's out rebounding Cody Zeller. He's out assisting Cody Zeller. More blocks, three blocks per game to 0.2. That's a pretty good amount, and they're going to score the same amount too. So all of a sudden, and I'm just going to filter by the last 15. That's where Zeller's going to kind of come back, and then LaMarcus Aldridge is probably mixed in some of those numbers. But you're looking at 2 very similar players, I think. And again, Drake said he's under 20% owned. This is a guy that needs to be picked up and used until
pick him up.
Further notice. And then Aiden also said, because we haven't really talked about the Spurs, so he was just wondering if we can look at the Spurs real quick. Because I know there's some interesting, I love the San Antonio Spurs guards. They have a ton of good 1s and 2s. Derek White is finally healthy and playing some good ball. So let me just pull up the San Antonio Spurs real quick and we'll give our thoughts. Let me just filter here too. The last 15 days will be good. But best player, of course, is DeMar DeRozan. We talked about Dejounte Murray earlier. All of a sudden, there's Jakob Poeltl here as their 3rd best player over the last 15 days. Keldon Johnson, I'm sure John can kind of rally and talk about Keldon for a little bit. Aldridge is out. And then there's Derek White. This is the guy who is under 27% owned, and he's starting to get his minutes, higher in the 20s. So this is a guy to keep an eye on for sure. Patty Mills, Rudy Gay, Lonnie Walker, they're a pretty deep team at the guard position. So I don't know, Drake, did you have any thoughts real quick on the Spurs or any questions?
Thoughts on Lonnie going forward is that the expectation is that he's going to benefit more from Aldridge being out too. That they're going to be seeing more minutes for Lonnie in this new rotation. That's just what I read today. I was reading into the I think it was actually on the Houston Chronicle or something, because I wanted to know more about Aldridge and how long he's a free agent in our league, so I want to know how long they think he's out for. So I read Lonnie. Rudy Gay is another decent pickup. Kyle picked him up this week. Patty Mills, he's sitting in our free agent wire. He's another guy you got to always look at. Might have a Patty game. Pretty low though when you look at it though. It's
you add Patty if there's a back-to-back or you need a guy for a night or two. You're just hoping for 30 points between the 2 games. And pretty good veteran scorer. Anybody else?
Trey Lyles was the guy I looked at. I just don't think it's there right now. He's not getting minutes.
He played at Kentucky, right? That's where I remember him from.
Yeah, Kentucky, yeah.
Really
so a guy to look at for the Spurs. Good for Aiden pointing that out. I like Lonnie Walker going forward.
And they're probably going to be experimenting with some of their lineups, whether it's the starting lineup or that second team, and seeing what kind of works. They might go small. You might see more Rudy Gay. I think Rudy Gay is probably the guy that I want to watch for with Aldridge out. He's a veteran player here. And even when Aldridge was playing, he had a pretty high floor. So maybe his minutes get pushed. And then just the 2-game sample here on the 8th and the 6th, you see 26 and 25 minutes, double-digit scoring points, over 20 points in both games. So the Spurs with Aldridge out, a couple names to keep an eye on. John, what were your thoughts on San Antonio?
you made it seem like DeMar was obviously their number one guy, and it's so close now. And Murray is really and DeMar has been a guy I've been talking up since pre-draft, but he's a guy I thought was going to have a huge year, and he's been doing great. But Deontay is nipping them, is right on his heels right now, and I love to see that. But I think Drake covered the rest of it really nicely. I don't have much more to add than that.
Fantastic. And we're technically at the hour here. Did you guys have any other final thoughts on tonight's show? Otherwise, I don't know. It was fun. It was kind of fun doing a mock draft for the first half an hour, doing something different. I'm trying to think what we can do next Tuesday to kind of shake things up. But this was a fun show. We touched on some teams that we haven't touched on yet. But any final thoughts from Drake on tonight's show?
No, I appreciate all the questions and everyone hanging out with us, and I had a lot of fun. It's always good to look at, the mistakes we made in the draft or the things we hit correctly or better. So we kind of gave ourselves a pat on the back and also a little slap in the face at the same time. So that's always fun.
Any final thoughts there from John?
No, I agree. This was a lot of fun. I like drafting. And NBA season's so much longer, so it's kind of I'm more open to the concept of drafting mid-season or through at the quarter mark or third mark or whatever. This does feel like a really fun time to draft because I don't know, you have good feelings about how the season is going to go for a lot of guys, and it's still early enough where there's definitely some sleepers left to wake up. This is a fun time of the year, so hopefully people are paying attention. I love some of the late round, not late round, but the deep under 50, under 20% owned guys we talked about tonight. Hopefully you guys paid attention to that and go grab some of those guys and win some games.
And I just had the thought bubble real quick that maybe during All-Star break we do another mock draft that kind of resets the stage for the back half. I think that would probably be the next appropriate entry point for even if you have an established league. I think the mock draft video can still help people just look at trade candidates or just look for guys, especially once we got towards the double-digit rounds of our draft. That's all waiver wire pickups. So I do like the idea of maybe doing another mock draft. It's Tuesday night, so we got some TNT games on tonight. What are you guys watching after we're out of here?
I haven't checked the schedule yet.
Quick. I'm not sure who's on TV tonight.
Do we have a TNT game tonight?
There should be.
Oh yeah, Pelicans and Houston's on right now.
I'm trying to pull it up on the side.
Pelicans and Houston play, and then I assume we get
Celtics. Jazz.
Internet
that's
slowed down.
So Pelicans Houston on right now, and Celtics Jazz tonight. So that's a little jazzy for your 9:00 hour.
Yeah. Listening to the smooth jazz. That always puts me to sleep.
Are you guys okay?
Utah Jazz or
my
Blue
internet
Jazz?
kind of glitched out.
Utah Jazz.
But,
Utah Jazz always put me to sleep. I just watch Rudy Gobert rebound and I get woozy.
Night.
You back,
that's
Kyle?
going to be it for tonight's show. A little over, guys. Can you guys hear me?
We got you, man.
You got me? All right. I'm just going to we'll talk in a little bit here. I'm just going to sign off on the show. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you guys in another video. Thanks for watching.
Thanks, guys.